Hi there and welcome to Get Well, Stay Well on Revelation TV. We're live, we're interactive, and as always, my name is Cyrus and absolutely delighted to be joined by Felicity. How are you?
Hi there, I'm absolutely fine. I've got my flat full, the Eagle's Nest is full, and we've got the October course coming on, which is really exciting. That's starting tonight. And last night I had a phone call from Ireland, from Eric and Elizabeth. Hi there. And Eric is so much better from his Parkinson's with the minerals, which is absolutely wonderful. They came on my course earlier in the year, and then we met up in Ireland when I did my Get Well, Stay Well Revelation Day there. And so it's really good fun, and I'm just so glad to hear he's really getting better.
Very good. I mean, do you have a lot of communication with our viewers, Felicity? Do they email you quite often?
Absolutely, all the time. I'm getting emails all the time because they're coming in the night from America, and I get some from Australia and all over the world. It's really amazing. Russia, of course, we reach Russia. 169 countries, I think it is, the last time I heard. It's probably more by now.
Yeah.
But it is really interesting, and I'm just so thrilled that people are watching and they're being helped.
Exactly.
Getting well and staying well.
Exactly. Now talk to us about today's programme. What have we got in for the
Well,
viewers today?
it's sort of all about the covering today. It's really interesting. You know, God covers us. Jesus covered us with our sin by dying for us on the cross. He has covered us. We all need a covering, and the earth does as well. And so I put together a lovely programme. We're going to start off with Israel Horton, and he's got a song on covering as well. So here we go, and it's all about organic farming and growing your vegetables naturally and covering the earth. It's going to be a great program.
Wonderful. So let's start off today's programme with a lovely worship song. This is Israel Houghton singing Covered.
Glorious grace, grace, glorious grace. At the cross, you called it finished. Grace, wonderful grace, singing grace, wonderful grace. At the cross, all of my sins covered, covered by your grace.
It's lovely just to be filled with the covered of the grace of the Jesus Christ. Why is it important that we have the protection of Jesus in our lives?
Well, because we're all human and we all sin, and so we, although we try to live a Christ life as much as we can, we try to do the right thing, but of course we always fail because we are human. And so we have the covering of Jesus. You know, we are totally lost. Everyone's totally lost. The world is without Jesus when we stand before God. And, you know, there's this wonderful thing that Jesus stands there and says, I know she's done all these things, but she's mine. And so we are saved by grace. And, you know, the rest of the world just doesn't realize that. And they wonder why we are religious. And I always say, I'm not religious. Because religion is just repeating the same thing again and again. It's a personal relationship with the Lord.
Because that's often what maybe non-Christians would ask to a Christian. How can you explain Christianity, or why is Jesus Christ important to have in your lives? And it can be just the case of just saying, because I just trust everything. Everything is in God's hands. When something happens, you know, you just trust in God, don't you?
Well, all other religions expect us to try and be good and do the right thing, and then we'll get to heaven. But with Jesus, of course, he's done it for us. That's the whole difference. And so we are, you know, when I was dying in 2003, I was so ill, and I thought all the things that I'd done wrong. And I thought, thank goodness I have Jesus in my life. Otherwise, I'd be going straight to hell, as the rest of the world is. And it's really pretty shocking. But I think it's only when people have, you know, and they come up to a moment in their lives when they realize they are going to die sooner or later. And when you're young, you don't think it's ever going to happen. But, you know, it's really important at moments like that, or when someone is very ill, when a loved one is very ill, it's very important to know that we have Jesus in our lives. It's everything, in fact. It's absolutely everything. And I always say to people out there, you know, who are perhaps bedridden, not well, you have a big ministry still, a big ministry of prayer, because we can change the world with prayer. You know, we really can. And no matter what's happening with invasions, Trojan horses, and, you know, coming to destroy Rome and all this stuff, and all the other things that are going wrong in the world with Putin and the, you know, the planes going into Syria, and we just have all this going on around us. And we need to pray, we need to be covered by the Lord. And the safest place to be, because there is no safe place on earth, the safest place to be is in Christ.
Exactly. Now, why is it important that we listen to worship music to really reconnect with Christ?
Well, I think we live in such a stressful world, and you know that makes bad body chemistry all the time. So when we are listening to beautiful music like that, when we're lifting our souls, our hearts to God, you come into a completely different body chemistry. And so it's very healing. It's very healing to have this beautiful music on. Really good.
Excellent. So something what I'd like us to move on to is an extract from the film Back to Eden. Explain a little bit about, what is that about?
Well, you see, as you know, we talk about the organic farming and how important it is, not because the food has more nutrients in it, but because they don't have the pesticides in them. And this man, Paul Gauci, who's made the next film, has in fact made a full documentary. It's called Back to Eden, and I have watched it right through. It's really interesting. He understood about organic farming years ago. He's been a farmer 55 years, I think. And he's discovered that when we let the ground go back to a covering, a natural covering, when we put the animal waste and the leaves and compost on the ground, in fact, it's so much better. You grow better vegetables. Everything's organic, of course. So he's a very interesting man, and because we talk to the viewers about, you know, grow your own stuff if you can, grow it outside in the garden or grow it inside like the wheatgrass. There's all kinds of things we can do. We can grow the sprouts as well, the alfalfa and the buckwheat sprouts that are full of energy because they have the sunshine on the green of the plant, which makes the chlorophyll, which is very like the hemoglobin in our blood.
Right.
So, of course, those green plants really feed us like nothing else does.
Excellent.
So, interesting to see this organic gardener and how he's made these really splendid gardens out of rocky soil.
Okay, well, let's take a look at this. This is an extract from the film Back to Eden. And before we go to that, I just want to remind you, we're live, we're interactive, and today we'll be taking your emails and text messages. So let's take a look at this.
My name is Paul Gauci. I've been a gardener for 55 years, and I've done, we wore out shovels as kids with spading. I've done tilling, done all that stuff. And it's so amazing now. My only tool is a rake, and it's just so easy and so simple, and the production is so superior to what I ever had. The thing that I really appreciate, I love God because he doesn't miss anything. He gave me, I have two properties that I'm doing this on. This one here, the ground is clay and rock. It would be impossible to farm. It would be considered from the agricultural point of view as marginal soil. The other place I have is 80% rock, totally gravel pit. You couldn't possibly till it. You couldn't possibly cultivate it. And in both of those places, I'm experiencing the most incredible, beautiful gardens. And what I love about God is that he is not challenged by anything. He is God. And clay and rock do not concern him. He just has the capacity to turn it all around. And one thing I love that scripture where it says, as we behold the Lord, we're being changed from glory to glory. And I find that anything that comes in contact with God gets changed, including clay and rock. And I love that. It's just such a beautiful illustration of who he is, and it's just so awesome to take people and take them back and show them my incredible ground. You can't even break with a pick and walk on this stuff. It's totally buoyant. Everything's just growing great, And I didn't do anything. I just put the cover down, and God does it all, So whatever you have to cover the ground with, any organic material, and if you don't have anything but rocks, it all works. It's all about covering, and if you get it covered, believe me, God will do the rest, and you'll be blessed. And I'm so blessed by that, that word Jesus says, come unto me, all you who labor and are heavy laden, and I'll give you rest. And he uses an interesting term. He says, take my yoke upon you and come learn of me. Now, what did they use the yoke for? They use that to hook up the oxen to break up the ground. And Jesus is saying, I don't do things like you. Come follow me around, watch what I do. My yoke's easy. My burden's light.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever seen anything like this in your life?
Nope. I didn't like it. These blueberries are really, really good.
And see, listen, everything that God created, I believe, is sweet.
Very sweet.
It was very sweet. When it's growing in soil that has minerals. This is key. Things that grow fast are sweet and tender. Things that grow slow are tough and bitter. And I tell you, I've come to the place where I don't do anything anymore without asking God. It's just, he is so amazing, and he's just such an incredible resource. And I find that he really loves talking to us. He loves to share. He's an incredible artist. He's very proud of his artwork, and he loves to talk about it. And I just get so blessed, to be part of it, and just feel, so thankful that I can share with other people, And like I was just sharing the other day, is that so I get people coming here through the summer, at least 2-3 times a week. Groups anywhere from 1 to there's been as many as 430 out here, and I just feel like a piece of PVC pipe with water going through it. I'm just a channel. I don't do anything. I just hear from God and just transfer it, kind of thing. And it's just a blessing to just to be that, And I think it's, our purpose and privilege, I love 1 John where it says, as Jesus is, so are we to be in the world. And Jesus came to reveal the Father, to show who God was. And that's our purpose. That's what we're here, to be light and salt. And it's just, I feel really blessed to have the opportunity to share.
Hi, it's very interesting what Paul was saying. Just explain a little bit about Paul Gaucho and his background.
Well, he's been farming 55 years, and he discovered that you grew much better vegetables and fruit when you did it organically. He's a born-again Christian, so he says that the church, his garden is the church, really. He just finds God speaks to him in the garden. And maybe you found as well that, gardeners are usually very happy and peaceful people because they're just out in nature. And God has created this beautiful world for us to live in. And you think of the flowers, you think of the fruits and vegetables are so beautiful.
Yeah.
It's incredible, and everything works synergistically.
Yeah.
And so I think it's something that we've all got to learn to do. I'm growing a few little things up on the eagle's nest, and I'm going to start growing more. But the herbs are so beautiful.
And the joy that you have when you see your little growing out there as well.
I pray, I bless them, of course. I go out in the morning because I love to go out and do my prayers in the morning up there. And so I bless all the flowers, I bless all the plants and everything. I don't have that many flowers now. I'm turning over to vegetables.
I mean, just before we started our show, Leslie came and telling us about her apple tree.
Yes.
And how happy she is. It's all growing, all the apples and everything. It gives you some sort of joy, doesn't it?
It's wonderful. And in Jersey, we used to grow fruit trees. But, you know, the awful thing was we had a great friend who came round with a great big spray gun thing.
Yes.
And he sprayed everything.
Exactly.
Because this is going back to 1971, 72. We didn't know any better then. We thought you sprayed all these chemicals on to get wonderful fruits and vegetables and that it would stop the pests. And now, of course, we realize, you know, interestingly, 1948, when Israel became a nation again, was born in one day. Also, the chemical companies started really pushing the fertilizer and the chemicals for the food.
Yeah.
And ever since then, our health has deteriorated dramatically.
Right, okay. If there's some of the emails that I've been receiving into the Slow Show, thank you so much for sending that in. Let's just read some out. I'm watching your program. I've suffered from chronic back pain for over 12 years, but I do the last 2 years and keep getting worse. I would like to get information about how that can help me, and I would like to contact you. So how can our viewers contact you,
just Felicity Corbin-Wheeler at gmail.com. Yeah.
Also, please advise me on what minerals and vitamins I can take. God bless and thank you.
Well, you see, I used not to believe that we needed to supplement. I used to think if you had the organic fruit and vegetables, you were going to be fine. But I now discovered through my own problem, when I had, you know, the heart was going wrong at 75. I thought it's far too young for things like that to be happening.
Yeah.
But anyway, I then realized I was totally depleted of minerals. I was depleted of magnesium and calcium and zinc and selenium and all the things. There are 75 essential ones that we should have in our bodies.
Now, does that vary whether you're a child or you're an adult?
You need the variety of them. If you're a child, obviously, if you're a big guy like you need many more of them. But basically, God has created us, as we know, from the earth, and so we are supposed to have all those minerals. Now, the earth has become completely depleted.
Yeah.
We haven't rested it the 7th year, which is biblical, that we should rest the earth the 7th year. And we've also started putting all these chemicals on the ground. So the World Health Organization and UNESCO have actually studied the soil around the world. In America, it's depleted 84%.
Right.
In England and most of Europe, it's about 72 to 78% depleted. So when we come to eat our food, even if we're eating the good vegetables, fruits, seeds, nuts and green plant that God has told us to eat, they are so depleted of nutrients.
Right.
This is why people are ill. You know, we have people with depression, with bipolar, with anxiety, with digestive problems, with arthritic problems. Now, Dr. Linus Pauling, who's one of the brightest men in the last century, he said, every disease is due to lack of nutrients, lack of minerals in particular. Because if you don't have the right minerals in your body, you cannot absorb vitamins.
Right.
How about that? So I expect lots of the viewers, as well as me, have been taking vitamin C when you have a cold and thinking that'll do it. But you see, if you're short of the minerals, the vitamin C is not going to do it for you. You've got to have the minerals and the vitamins. So I've now started doing it, and I can't tell you what a difference it's made for me.
And what about the right nutrients that are in the foods that we're eating? How important is that?
Well, again, you see, we go back to God's foods. It's those root vegetables. It's the you know, the really good marrow, because they're underground, they don't get as much of the chemicals sprayed on them. Obviously, apples and pears on the trees are getting a lot of spray on the top. But when we go back to the fruits, the vegetables, the seeds, the nuts and the green plant, and they're not sprayed, then you are going to get all the good things into your body. But we've all got depleted because the soil's depleted.
Yeah.
So when we're growing a tree in soil that's depleted, the tree's going to be depleted and the fruit's going to be depleted.
Yes.
So it's all synergistic. It's how we work in with the whole ecological system. We're part of it.
Right, okay. Liz and Chris has sent us an email in to say, just want to say a massive thank you to Felicity for changing our family's lives for the better.
Oh.
We thank God for you.
Oh, thank you.
The question I have to ask is, are Heaven's Minerals safe during pregnancy? And have you got any advice on the best foods when pregnant?
I think they're essential when pregnant because obviously the baby is going to be taking all the nutrients from the mother. You know, the baby just takes everything that's good from the mother. And so the mother gets very depleted, and if the mother's depleted already, of course the baby's not getting enough. So certainly, yes, I would probably take 2 because in order to get my heart back into good shape, I'm taking 2 a day. And you know, if you're very depleted, and I'm 75, so obviously I've been depleted a long time, but then babies that are born now are less healthy than the babies who were born, say, in my generation.
Yeah.
Because, of course, again, the nutrients were better in those days.
Of course. I mean, do you see the huge transformation from, let's take 20 years ago, 30 years ago, people were eating a lot more healthier, weren't they, compared to today?
Because we didn't have the processed foods. And it's very interesting, I've got a teacher on the course this week, and she's telling me how, with the years, they can tell how the children are not as bright as they used to be.
Really?
Yeah, because of the depletion in the soil. And the year of Chernobyl, they noticed that the babies who were born that year, as they came through school years later, and they've all been right through school now, but they were much less bright and focused and strong than children in other years. That year that Chernobyl let out a tremendous amount of radiation. And of course that's happening again now with Fukushima, because in Japan that is letting off a tremendous amount of radiation,
I mean,
which governments really seem to hide. They don't talk about it, but it is scandalous. And if you look at the research, as I've done, and followed the research books which are done by scientists, it's really quite shocking how the whole of the Northern Hemisphere is now affected by Fukushima, which is why a lot of people have thyroid issues.
That's interesting, yeah.
Because it attacks the thyroid first.
I mean, we look at the nutrients when we're having our juices, for example. When you have a glass of juice, you feel alive, you feel energetic. You know, it really does affect your mindset. However, if you eat processed food, you feel nothing but tired. You want to go to sleep. You feel full, you feel heavy, isn't it? So it really depends on the food that we're eating as well.
It's absolutely true, absolutely true. And you know, if you have a glass of wine, for instance, you know, I just feel terrible the next morning. But if I have a glass of green juice, I feel fine. And today we've got cucumber and celery and apple and lemon.
Lovely.
And we all made them
Gorgeous.
together on the course. So this is with love from Sandra and Paul, who are staying with me as well. And, you know, some chop and some juice, and we do it all as a team. It's great fun, yeah.
Got an email here from Gordon saying, it makes you wonder how much organic manure the Jews had to put on the land of Israel when our God sent them back to the promised land because it was all desert.
But they had their animals with them, didn't they?
Now it's the most productive country you can ever imagine.
Yes, that's because they've done all the right things, and they have rested the soil and gone back to, and prayed over it as well. You see, they're giving the land a covering. They do believe in God. You know, we've just had this wonderful Yom Kippur. We've had the trumpets and tabernacles. We're having all these autumn feasts. There's a tremendous amount of prayer that goes on in Israel. And some of them know Jesus as the Messiah, but all of them are really trusting in God to look after them, because the rest of the world is not looking after them.
Yeah.
But I have a lot of friends in Israel who are very prayerful, and you know, they have, when you think how they've created this land out of the desert, because I first went to Israel 1967, I think it was, just after the war, and it was amazing when you fly in to complete desert, and then you come across this really lush area with palm trees and avocado orchards, and the most wonderful work that's been done, literally by the sweat of their brow, because they came in there as refugees, of course. They came to begin with. You know, they came back to the land, which was their land, but they'd been out of it for thousands of years. So they came back, maybe some out of, concentration camps. People had been really badly affected through the Second World War. And they came back to this land and they really got down and started really getting the land back to, well, creating a garden out of it. You know, the Rose of Sharon. And it really is beautiful there, lovely. But it's all with hard work, under God's covering, I would say. Yeah.
Okay, well, let's take a look at an interesting item next, shall we? This is called Why Christ May Return in 2017. Explain why you chose to use this item.
Well, this is our friend Paul Gauci again. And having found Paul Gauci to do the first clip, I thought it was so interesting that I was watching more clips that he has done. And so he comes on to this one, and I do urge people to go on YouTube and look at these clips by Paul Gauci, because you learn a lot about organic gardening and you learn a lot about the Lord. So
okay.
When we're...
Interesting.
Are we ready to do that one?
We are ready. We're ready to go. So let's
go.
take a look at this. Paul Gauci, let's take a look at this.
So throughout creation, God's been very clear about how he operates. Every 2,000 years, he did something significant. From Adam to Abraham was 2,000 years. From Abraham to Jesus' first coming was 2,000 years. And from Jesus' first coming to his second coming is 2,000 years. And the last 1,000 years is his millennial reign on the earth, and then time ends and eternity begins. 7 is complete. So, when Jesus came the first time as the Lamb of God who takes away the sin of the world, he fulfilled every single one of the Jewish spring feast. Every single one. He died on Passover. Significant Passover. The Lamb of God who takes away. Remember Passover? They put the blood of the Lamb. Jesus came to be the Lamb of God, so he dies on Passover. That was not a coincidence. This is intentional. You know, he arose on the Feast of First Fruits. He's the first fruits of our resurrection. You think that was the coincidence? 50 days later, on the Feast of Pentecost, he gave the Holy Spirit. You know when he's coming back? He's coming back on the Jewish fall feast. You know what the first one is? Feast of Trumpets. Connect the dots. Thessalonians. He's coming back with the sound of a trumpet, with the voice of the archangel. I mean, come on! He didn't make it hard. He's very clear. And none of us are getting it. Like, duh, you can't know. He's coming back in September. I don't know what day, no hour, but he's coming back September. Feast of Trumpets. He has to.
The Jubilee Shemitah.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, I have an idea what year. Again, God is significant. Did you hear me? He is significant. He doesn't do things accidental or coincidental. The last year of Jubilee was 1967. And God showed up and miraculously delivered Jerusalem back into the hands of Israel. That war was miraculous. Stuff happened that was totally beyond human explanation. He showed up, as he did in the Old Testament, and totally took out the enemies and gave them back Jerusalem. That was 1967. You know what the next year of Jubilee is? 2017. The number 7. I love, God is, 7 is all of them because that's his number. And I just have a sense, 2018 is 70 years, 1948. I just have a sense he's probably going to show up in the year of Jubilee in 2017 in September because it just fits.
Hi there. It's interesting. God always does something every 2,000 years. But it's interesting the dates that he was explaining there.
Well, it's really interesting because you've got the 2,000 year thing and then you've got the Shemitah years as well. And so it all fits in. And if you've listened to Jonathan Cahn, I don't know if people are aware of Jonathan Cahn, again, YouTube, wonderful rabbi who's born again, who preaches on the Shemitah years. And we are in a Shemitah year. The other ones were 67, which of course was a Jubilee year as well, as Paul says. And then 73, that was when abortion was legalized in the USA. 2011, of course, was the World Trade Center and the defiance to rebuild it again, which was Isaiah 9, really interesting. 2008, there was Wall Street collapse. And now in 2015, the world is in quite a dangerous state. And so I think it was really interesting that Paul Gauci puts all this together, and he is an organic gardener. And I think that we should all be prepared to start growing our own vegetables. and to be able to provide for ourselves. And this is really what I'm doing with the Get Well, Stay Well courses, because people have got to learn to look after themselves and not rely on drugs.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because Tina's written into us. She's asking us, hi, Si and Felicity. She's concerned whether she's taking too many supplements. She says, this is a question for Felicity. Please, could you let me know if I'm taking too many supplements, or should I readjust what I'm taking from the items below? And she's taking spirulina powder, chlorella powder, super greens with cacao boost powder, wheatgrass, barley grass, selenium, aloe vera, ABC+, multivitamins and minerals by tablet, Credence vitamin C, Credence vitamin D3, sizzling minerals, heaven minerals. Your advice would be appreciated, as I'm a little worried I may be taking too many.
Well, you'll excrete anything that is in excess. So that's an easy answer. And if you go on to, again, Google Professor Saul, Professor Andrew Saul, who we've had on the programs, he says that they've never found anyone who's had too much vitamin C. They've gone up to 250 grams a day to try and get people well from things like cancer, really serious illness. And he says that he's a professor, he's a doctor who teaches the doctors, Harvard Medical School and all this stuff. And he says that you cannot take too many, because if you do, you'll simply excrete them.
Yeah.
But how wise to build up the strength, because people are so depleted, and that's why we have so much illness. You know, they say most people die of a heart problem. Second is cancer. Third is the iatrogenic disease, which is caused by different drugs that have been given perfectly legally, but given drugs which of course are toxic in the liver. So those are the three main causes of death. Now, if we were on the right foods, on God's food, and now it's got depleted, we're supplementing as well, people are going to stay well, they're going to get well, and they're going to stay well, which is exactly what I did. But I did need to get the minerals into my body. So, you know, it alters the pH of the body. You know, we talk about the pH a lot, the potential of hydrogen, and it alters the, it just gets our blood back, because you know, in the Bible it says that the life is in the blood. If our blood is not healthy, if the blood picture is wrong, then the person is not going to be well. Now, interestingly, I was trained to do microscopy and blood tests where you do live and dried blood microscopy. So you just prick the finger, you can put the blood in little dabs on a little piece of glass, which you then put in a computer, comes up with a screen, and you can see the blood picture. That is your live blood. That's actually what's happening in the body. So if someone's just had a fatty meal, say they've had a cheese burger and a Coke, you know, and all kinds of fatty things, their blood cells will be clumping together, and it'll take hours for that to go back to normal. So if they're having a fatty meal, say for breakfast, for lunch, for tea, and for supper, they're never going to have healthy blood. This is when disease starts. So this is a sort of state we call subclinical disease. It's before you actually come out with the diabetes or the heart disease.
So where is a good way to start, or start changing your diet at least anyway?
Well, start by doing the minerals, doing the juices. Also, people should do the colonics, of course, which I'm absolutely adamant about, because I was a nurse. I know how good the colonics are in getting people well. So when people have got arthritis, when they've got toxins in the body, the only way you're really going to get rid of them is to cleanse the gut, because the microbiotics are really, really vital in our immune system. So it all goes together.
Another email here saying, morning Felicity, just like to ask Felicity about the new wheatgrass juices that are selling in the supermarkets now, and what she thinks, whether they're any good for the young people, just as much as the ones that we do at home.
Well, obviously the ones you do at home are the best if you're growing good wheatgrass from organic wheat berries. But what a good idea that we're now getting wheatgrass. It may have a little bit of preservative in it, of course, because it's got the shelf life there to consider. But what a good thing that people are having that instead of a brown caffeinated drink.
Absolutely.
That we could mention, but we won't. And, you know, and all the sort of fizzy lemonades and things. The thing about the fizzy minerals is they don't have the bad fizz like the sodium dioxide, which we get in, say, in lemonade or the brown caffeinated drinks, which are loaded in sugar and all kinds of different toxins. So what a good thing if they are buying something that says wheatgrass on it in the shops.
Yeah.
And maybe it has a little preservative, but basically it's a darn sight better.
It's a step in the right direction, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Do you notice? Do you find that the shops and the supermarkets are now starting to really provide and give us options with healthier foods available?
Yes, it's because the public is demanding it. And when the public demand integrated health as well from their doctors and say, well, I don't want to just have lots of pills for my ills, I'd rather build my immune system, then doctors will change as well.
Yeah.
So
it's the education of the doctors as well, and the doctors aren't quite sold on the idea of going natural,
well,
are
they're
they?
not
The natural
trained in it,
solution.
so they do what they've been trained in, which is absolutely what they're told. This is the way we do these things, and so they have to do it. Otherwise, they're out. So obviously, it's the older doctors who've been through all that, and they've made their money. They've, you know, bought their Porsches and Lamborghinis, and they've sent their children to university. Now they come out with the truth and say, well, actually, it's all about the immune system. And this is why we have these brilliant doctors on our show, and why I go to America and go to meet these people, like the Integrated Health Conference. And I do wish more people would come over to that conference because it's really interesting.
And how can I find out information about that?
Well, they can email me about it, and I'll tell them.
It's felicity.corbin-Wheeler@gmail.org.
Correct, yeah.
Excellent. It's got an email here from Ruth saying, hi, Cyrus and Felicities, regarding perimenopausal symptoms, please can you advise me how to help my friend Michelle, who suffered from terrible symptoms, especially migraines every month?
Well, again, it's got to be the Gerson therapy, it's got to be the colonics, and getting on God's diet, because a lot of the pain and the inflammation is caused by having the wrong foods in our bodies, which of course makes the blood thicker and more difficult to remove each month. So it all makes sense, and I wish I'd known all this years and years ago. You know, when I was 21, I was such a keen nurse and doing everything I was told, and I really had to learn so much since those days.
Do you have nurses that come onto your course, Felicity?
I do.
What is their reaction when you show them and you talk about all the information?
Well, of course, they come on the course because they've seen the programs and they love it and they think, I want to help my patients. I've also had doctors on the course.
Right.
So quite a few doctors. And, you know, we have such fun because we're all on the same page.
Yes.
We just want to get people well.
Yes.
And when you see the DVDs that I show, which is really why they have to come on the course, because I can, you know, people can download the book and they get what Felicity says. But basically, what I like people to do is hear from the top doctors. I like everything I say to be covered, again, we've got the word covering, by the top medical doctors, like Dr. Francisco Contreras, for instance.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's move on to something else, which I think is quite interesting. It's talking about organic versus conventional fruits and vegetables. Let's take a look at this.
Okay, well, you've been hearing a lot in the news lately about organic food. And is it really better for you? Well, the president and the CEO of the Southwest College of Naturopathic Medicine, Dr. Paul Mittman, is joining us this morning to talk about eating foods that promote good health, and is organic really better? All right, doctor, talking about organic food. Is it really better for me?
Well, Lisa, let's cut to the chase.
Okay.
And to help us, I brought some food with us.
Okay.
I brought an apple, which happens to be organically grown. You can tell because it's got a label on the bottom that says organic.
Okay.
When you go to the store, if you're buying organic, there's always a number that they punch into the cash register. If it starts with a 9, that means it's organic. And the answer is that it depends on the food.
Depends on the food.
You know, the study said that the nutrients in organic and conventional are about the same. And you know what?
This is the Stanford University
study that came out a week ago.
Okay.
And I've always thought that to be the case. The question is, not what are you getting in the food, but what aren't you getting in the food. The study also showed that in conventional versus organic, you get 30% less pesticide residue. Now, we use over 1 billion pounds of pesticides in the United States every year. That's a lot of pesticide, and it ends up somewhere. Some of it ends up on food, and some of it, does not. And it really depends on the food. And the reason I brought you an apple is because apples happen to be one of the foods that have a lot of pesticide residue.
And why is that?
Either because of the fact that it's on a tree and it gets sprayed, as opposed to something that grows in the ground. It also depends on the thickness of the skin. So like a peach is very high in residue also.
Strawberries too?
Strawberries too. And so I brought a list.
The Dirty Dozen.
The Dirty Dozen. And so, practically speaking, we can't eat all organic. It's probably impossible to eat all organic food. And so as a consumer and someone who's health oriented, we have to make choices. And so if we want to, we avoid the Dirty Dozen and not, we don't eat them, but we eat those organic.
Okay, so and on the list of the Dirty Dozen, to buy, if you're gonna buy organic and kind of pay a little bit more, some of the top items on the list are apples, celery, strawberries, peaches, spinach. Let's see if I can show this. Okay, can you guys see this? I'll keep reading here.
We posted this on our
did you?
website.
Nectarine, you guys are, I'm getting cues over here and over there. Grapes, sweet bell peppers, potatoes, blueberries, lettuce, kale, and collard greens. All right, but with that being said, and there is such a difference in price, couldn't I just go to the store, get my Fit Spray, which they say is made with organic grapefruit oil, but it also says that it's 100% natural. Spray it on an apple that I bought at a conventional store and save some money that way?
Absolutely.
Hi there and welcome back. Something quite interesting there about using the grapefruit oil to remove the pesticides.
That's right. I mean, obviously, if you can get the organic, then you still wash it because you've got the hands who picked it and put it, in the farmer's market. But yeah, you want to peel things, or you can wash them with vinegar or grapeseed oil. You can really try to protect yourself as much as you can, because we literally cannot buy all organic.
No.
I've never been so blessed as I am here, because we've got the farmers' organic market, which is once a month on the last Sunday of each month. And that is all genuinely organic, and I've got to know them. I go every month and buy as much as I can there. But the thing is, we really have to look out for ourselves. And also, when you do go into the shops and it says organic, when it goes through the barcode, if it's got number 9, number 9, it's organic. Which is really good.
That's very good.
So we have to really protect ourselves. Also, we have to stand up against Monsanto, and I think there's a petition out at the moment which I've signed, which is against the glyphosate, and that's been sent to me by Donald up in Scotland. We need to sign that to stop the glyphosate, which is being sprayed. The Roundup, this is all highly toxic.
Something quite interesting there as well, in particular, our apples are quite high in pesticides residue as well, aren't they?
Yeah, they are, absolutely.
Excellent.
An apple a day, keeps the doctor away, but an apple a day with pesticide on it could well cause big problems.
Okay, brilliant. Let's go on to some more of the emails. Hi, Si and Felicity, love your programme. What food should I avoid to get rid of mucus? I have already given up dairy and I've started juicing. God bless you both, from Kathy.
Yeah, well, dairy is the first thing to give up because it's the most inflammatory. You want to give up the anything that's acid as well, because of course milk turns into acidity in the body, as we know. So really they have to try and detox. Again, I would do the colonics, I would do the juices, I would try to get the alkaline, the pH balance right, and you can get these little strips which you can test saliva and urine with and test where you are on the pH scale.
Right, brilliant. Jackie's written in to say, could you please tell me, is it safe to have a flu jab during pregnancy? My daughter is 18 weeks pregnant.
Well, this is a very contentious thing, as you know. 8 anti-vaxxer doctors have been shot in Florida in the last 2 months. So all I will say is I would not do it. I would not want my daughter to do it if she was pregnant. But it is a matter of individual choice. And I think it's a matter of education. It's an educated choice. Read Dr. Vernon Coleman, read Dr. Sherry, goodness, what's her name? Dr. Sherry Penny something. Anyway, if you just, she's SHERRI, Sherry, 10 Penny, I think she is her name.
Okay.
But anyway, lots of books out there about it. And really, it's not something that you should be bullied into. It's something that you should be educated about and then decide whether you want to do that or not. So quite contentious at the moment. But as always, pray about it and get educated about it.
And get the right advice as well, isn't
Yeah,
it?
absolutely.
That's why we always say, you need to refer to your doctor, speak and have good communication and contact with the doctor and a relationship with the doctor as well, because obviously you need to be working and have the right advice, because it can be difficult for the viewers out there as well, isn't it?
One thing you can do, which is in Dr. Vernon Coleman's book, is say to the doctor, okay, you can vaccinate my child as long as you sign this legal disclaimer I've just had written by my lawyer to say that you are responsible for any side effects. And no doctor will do that.
Okay. Robert is written in to ask, could you please tell me if hemp milk is good for lungs? Recently diagnosed with emphysema due to acid reflux getting in the lungs. Thankfully, as I have never smoked, I only got it mild. As I have always lived a healthy life, I want to try hemp milk. Is there any side effects?
No, I think hemp is fine, and also the coconut milk is okay, as long as you're not having the cow's milk. That's the main thing. And interestingly, with emphysema, wheatgrass, if you take the wheatgrass, you can actually heal lesions in the lungs. It's one of the few things that does heal the lungs. I would also do lots of inhalation. You know, the eucalyptus oil we were talking about last week, and beautiful things like that. So you can also take colloidal silver. That is very good for healing lung conditions. Keep away from colds, obviously, because if you have compromised lungs and then you get an infection on top, you know, you're in much worse state than most people are with a cold. So basically build up the immune system. Again, get your minerals, your vitamins into your body, lots of vitamin C, and I would really strengthen the immune system, and then hopefully you'll be able to reverse that emphysema.
Okay, let's take a look at
God will always heal the body, you know?
Sure.
Given half a chance.
Going to take a look at our final item for today.
Right.
It's potato
kugel. Kugel.
Why have you chosen this one, Felicity?
Well, because I love potatoes and onions and eggs, and it's all done in the most delicious way. So when I first tasted potato kugel, I thought, this is wonderful. Because, you know, I'm vegetarian, so
Yes.
I don't want the meats and things, but you can make them into a big dish for everybody, or you can make little ramekins.
Right.
Because I live alone, I like to make the little ramekin dishes. And it's delicious, and of course it's all God's food.
Excellent. Well, let's take a look at this. How to make potato kugel.
Potato kugel. Potato kugel is everyone's favorite combination of creamy on the inside, crunchy on the outside. And to maximize the crunchy on the outside, I'm making individual potato kugels. That is like so totally kugel. Let's make individual potato kugels. I'm going to peel a few Idaho russets. Like so. And here's my handy potato grater, which moonlights as a cheese grater. As I grate the potatoes, I transfer them to this strainer and get the shreds into some cool, clean water to keep them from turning brown. Here's an onion. Cut off the ends and remove the skin. Now back to the grater, which in addition to potatoes and cheese makes a fantastic onion grater. Grating the onion gets it super fine. Here's a big bowl, and here are my rinsed, dried, and perfectly white white potato shreds. Here's the grated onion. Get that incorporated into the potato shreds. This is about 5 cups of potato shreds to 1 cup of onion. But it is like totally kugel to change this ratio to suit your taste. Here's some beaten egg and some salt. Get this good and combined, and this is a few tablespoons of olive oil that I've heated. And that's it, only 4 ingredients. But hey, it's your kugel. Spice it up with some cayenne pepper, add some fresh herbs, or go crazy and add some shredded cheese. That would be so super kugel. Now here are my options for individual vessels. This one makes more of an appetizer size, and this makes more of an entree size. Choose your vessel and place it on a baking sheet. Get each dish coated with a little more olive oil. Pop this into your preheated oven for a few minutes to warm the dish and the oil. When the dishes are heated, distribute the potato mixture evenly into each ramekin. Pop this back into your preheated oven, and when they're done, they'll look like this. Mega kugel. You can serve them in their dish or carefully cut them out. And look at that. Crunchy on the outside, creamy on the inside, and a totally kugel way to serve potatoes. Serve with braised short rib or keep it vegetarian with braised mushrooms for an impressive main course. Get the individual potato kugel recipe at AverageBetty.com. I hope you make individual potato kugel soon. You'll not only serve up creamy on the inside, crunchy on the outside goodness, you'll serve up a new catchphrase that is so totally kugel.
That is so totally kugel, man. Crunchy on the outside, creamy on the inside.
It's delicious. I could do with some right now, actually. Go back and make some, I think.
Excellent. Let's take a look at some more emails, if we may. This one's from Patrick in Newry. I have, through the power of God, beaten alcohol, drugs, tobacco addiction.
Oh, well done, Patrick.
But I have sugar addiction that is causing me a lot of problems. What can I do?
Don't we all? We all have sugar addiction. And, you know, the food manufacturers have fostered that and made everything so sweet. Even the apples, you know, are being modified so that they're sweeter. Did you realize that? It's quite shocking, isn't it? So what you can do is, you're actually short of chromium. So what you need to do is take the minerals, make sure that there's chromium inside, like the heavens minerals that they have, and you'll find that you will gradually lose that sugar addiction. It's just this, the body is crying out, you see. This is why people who are overweight are always hungry, because they're living on rubbish, and so the body is still saying, feed me something I can use, and so they go and have the next hamburger and it's not working. And you know, when they come back to, say, the green juices.
Exactly.
Because you see, all I've had this morning is a green juice. And that gets me right through.
And it's energizing as well, isn't it?
Yes.
Well, that actually leads us nicely on to Michael's email, which is saying, morning, can you get healthy by juicing, but also eating normal foods as well?
Oh, yes, of course. I mean, the thing is, start, Michael, with adding some juices, and then have as many. I mean, I stick with vegetarian food, which I do prefer. I have the odd little bit of fish if I go out for a party and someone offers me fish, then that's fine. But basically, I stay vegetarian, like the kugel, like, say, red cabbage, ratatouille, you know, all those beautiful things that we can make. Because I actually prefer the vegetables now. I certainly don't want meat or chicken, and I hardly ever have fish, but it is a treat just every now and again.
Excellent.
So he can, good luck, Michael, and move gently onto it, because hopefully he's not really ill. If you're really ill, as I was, you have to be really radical.
Sure.
You know, and if people want to get well quickly, again, they have to be radical. But for most people, just a gentle move in the right direction.
Wonderful. Felicity, we have come towards the end of today's programme. So, as always, thank you so much for all of your information. And thank you to our lovely viewers as well. Thank you for joining us today. Do remember, we have a catch-up service on our website. It's on our revelationtv.com. We're also on social media and YouTube. Take a look at our YouTube page, youtube.com/RTV Europe. Thank you once again. Take care. Have an amazing day. And we look forward to seeing you same time next week on Revelation. God bless. Take care. God bless. Felicity, say bye.
Goodbye. God bless you.
That's bye from Felicity and it's bye from me. Take care. Bye.